right, hello, happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there. Today we are talking about heart rate and how we can decrease it while we run. Um, and I do want to start with saying this is a bit of a misnomer in terms of what you're able to do to literally lower your heart rate. But so many people talk about it, I think it's worth having a conversation around it. Much of this is going to come down to efficiency, how efficient you run, how efficient you are in a lot of different aspects of your running. The more efficiently you run, the lower your heart rate is going to be. That's because, and let's start with this, if you're going to go run a mile, you have some sort of energy demand based on your running. Somebody who is really efficient is going to be able to produce the energy needed to meet that demand more easily. So a professional runner running 10-minute pace is going to be more efficient all the way around, from their energy production in the mitochondria, like the powerhouse of the cell, to the oxygen delivery that they're bringing in and pushing down, compared to somebody who is newer to running. There's also running economy, so literally how efficient they are in each step that they take. They're going to require less energy to produce that same force to move their bodies forwards. That might be because they're landing taller, more stacked, and able to store more energy in their tendons before they take their step. Whereas somebody who 10-minute pace might be faster in terms of what they're able to do speed-wise, they might be landing a little bit further out in front of them with their heel and heel striking a little bit more. It could be literally the weight of the person. So somebody who's really light, I saw something that looked at the average professional marathoner in the US. They're like 5'7" and 135 pounds for men. So that person's going to require less energy to go from point A to point B. And just to illustrate that, if you take that same person, put a 30-pound weight vest on them, it's going to require more energy because there's more mass that they have to move from point A to point B. Now, the encouraging thing with all of this is the more you do anything, the better you get at it. So our bodies really don't like spending more energy than they have to, which is great because we're going to find efficiencies. We're going to find neuromuscular efficiency, so your brain talking to your muscles. We will find efficiency in terms of putting force into the ground. So instead of heel striking really far in front of you, the more you run, maybe you pull that a little bit behind you. Not that heel striking is inherently bad, it's just where's your foot striking in comparison to your center of mass. And I do have a whole video on that if you want to check it out. It's why running hurts and how cadence can help fix it, or something like that on YouTube. So they might be landing too far out in front of themselves. Becoming more efficient means we pull that under our center of mass a little bit more. You get more efficient at delivering that oxygen from your lungs to your muscles, so you increase capillary density, which capillaries are like the little back roads instead of the main highway. The main highway is like your big blood vessels that push out. And then you go down to the little capillaries, which are the back roads that get you to each of those cells that can then use the oxygen from the blood to produce energy. So all of those are just relevant points to say the more efficient you get, the less oxygen you'll need to produce energy, the less total energy you'll need because you're producing the right amount of energy, if you will, for the 10-minute pace, if you want to call it that, run for a mile. All of those different pieces are going to help decrease heart rate over a long period of time. But then there are also other things, like if you're really stressed, your heart rate's going to be higher. The time of day, whether it's early or late in the day, is going to affect it. If you have caffeine, obviously that's going to jack up your heart rate if you're just sitting down. So, of course, if you're running, it's going to have an effect there. All just different things to say heart rate is a product of efficiency and energy need. Actually, it's more that second one. It's more a conversation of the energy demand that you have for whatever your activity is. The more efficient you get, the less energy demand you have, which means the lower the heart rate because you can accommodate for that amount of work with less effort. So that was my first shtick on running an energy economy. Hopefully we have some people that show up in the chat. I would love to make this more a conversation of how I can help folks in the chat. So for anybody who's new here, my name's Joe. I've been running since I was in 6th grade. I was a sprinter through high school and college, a couple years post-collegiate, and I manage a running store now. I went from sprinting to doing distance last year plus, but I also have a degree in exercise science, and now it's more of an application of all the sciencey stuff with the fun application in the distance running space now. So I have no coaching business. I'm not trying to sell coaching or anything like that. But I do love people getting out and enjoying time outside and getting more fit because I think it just has a huge upwards spiral on life. So I try and do these streams to kind of give you guys an opportunity to say, hey, this is what's going on with training, or if something is bugging you. I'm not a PT, so I will usually refer you to a PT, but I might be able to give you a couple of ideas of things you can be mindful of as you're running or stretching or between runs or what have you to maybe avoid some injury problems. So yeah, this is just an opportunity for people to ask questions, and I try and help as much as I can. We'll see if anybody pops into the chat. Looks like there are 4 of you guys live right now. If you have any questions, please ask away. I would be more than happy to answer. Let's see. I'll give you guys a second to type here. I've got my chat like right over here. So ask away, ask away. Hopefully we get at least 1 or 2 people in the chat before it gets too late into here. Let's see. We can work on framing too. Let's see if that pushes us over just a little bit more to the middle here. We have another person that just popped in. Ask your running questions here. I want to be able to help you. Just drop any questions you have. I guess in the meantime, we can talk a little bit about what I'm doing for racing for this year. Kind of just to give me a second to go through my plans out loud. So at the start of the year, my knee really was hurting to the point I couldn't get my normal mileage in. I was hoping to do a March marathon almost exactly a year after transitioning from the sprinting to the distance side, but it wasn't really in the cards. I could go do a marathon, but it wouldn't be as fast as I want it to be. And so we're not going to do that. Instead, I would rather get a really nice build back in where I'm not like forcing runs if there are things that bother me. Instead, I'm going to look a little bit later into the year. So in May, I'm going to do a 15K run at the Biltmore State in Asheville, North Carolina, which will be really cool. I've got a cool goal to run under 60 minutes. So to make easy math, that's a 20-minute 5K 3 times in a row on a relatively hilly course, which will be fun. That'll be a great kind of stretch for me to see if we can make that happen. Based on my my half marathon from last year, if I get more fit and hello Carl, welcome in. Love to have you. If you have any running questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I kind of went through some heart rate ideas earlier in the stream here, but more than happy to give you any feedback. If you have any running questions, lifting questions, races that you've got coming up that you want to talk about, anything really like that, I'm more than happy to give you some thoughts. But 15K for me is the first big race of the year. A couple of weeks after that, I'm going to do a 50K run, which is 31 miles. So that'll be my first ultra marathon, but that's more just to get it done, keep a longer distance race in mind before I transition into a half marathon a little bit after summer. So I'd be thinking September, October range for a half marathon that I would love to go under 90 minutes for, if not pushing down towards that hour and 20 range. And then we'll cap it all off with a marathon in the end of the year at Kiawah Island to hopefully get some retribution off of last year. Carl, I just entered my first marathon. What advice do you have? Great question. And it's going to be the same as most of this running stuff. So to make it applicable to anybody who's interested in the running space, whether it's a marathon or anything else that you might have going on that you're interested in the running space. It takes time to build. You got to be patient with your building. If you try and go too hard, too fast, stuff usually starts to get mad. And eventually, when you get to the end there, you taper for your race, which can be hard. And it was one of the things I did wrong in my marathon in December. So let's run through that. A nice build. I'd be curious how far out your marathon is. If you drop that in the chat, that might give me a little more context for myself and anybody who is watching. But a nice build where you're not stressed to get your long run super long. I like slow building that a little more than some other folks. There are training plans that'll have you jump your long run every week. And I just don't think the body adapts that fast. I think sometimes you have to repeat a distance, or you can repeat a distance, but add a little bit of extra speed works at goal pace or at marathon pace in your long run. So you go the same distance, but you get a little bit different stress. So I did that multiple times, in my half marathon block. It's in 6 weeks. That's a super quick turnaround. It would be helpful if you drop how much you're running already in the chat or how much you've built in. We've talked once or twice before about what you're doing, but let's get some more context. Let's see where our base is, and then I can maybe give you a couple of ideas, because a long run or two probably would be in order. Been training for a half marathon for 3 months and running the half next week. Okay, so already being in shape for a half, 3 months of training, plenty of base built there. What I'd probably recommend is getting a couple of runs that are longer. So if you're already at a 13-mile long run, if that's definitely in the cards already, I would give a couple longer runs, maybe 15, 16, or 17 miles, depending on what you are comfortable with and what you've done before. So if you've never done an 18-mile run or a 20-mile run, I don't know if that's exactly where I would go. If you've done 13, I think getting a week after the race, doing a moderate long run, so maybe a really easy pace, but 14 miles, that would get you more time on feet, which would be great without a ton of stress like you would get out of a fast 13-mile run, right? So I think the time on feet is going to be really beneficial for you. It just takes time for the body to adapt to that. So running easy can be really helpful to build your long run. After that, if you can repeat where you're getting maybe a 14.5-mile run or maybe a 15-mile run the week after, if your body is adapting well, I think that could be beneficial. And then, really, given the short build for it, I would maybe go like a 2-week taper instead of a 3. If you were in a huge block where you were getting 20, 21, 22-mile long runs, I would maybe say like a longer taper could be in order. Not that we want to force extra volume in. I just think it would be beneficial if we built longer, and I don't think you have as much cumulative fatigue that we have to get rid of. So don't overdo it, but I think if you could we're 6 weeks out, 5 weeks out, we'll do 13, 4 weeks out. So you've got 2 long runs you can do after your half marathon. With that said, I would maybe think like a 14 and maybe a 16-mile long run would be good. I think touching 16 would be beneficial just so you can get a chance to spend longer on feet. So it won't be the same duration as your marathon, but 16 miles, really slow, comfortable, easy, is going to help prepare for 26 miles, maybe going a little bit quicker. Let me know if any of that makes sense. If you got any questions on it, I can try and clarify anything I need to there. And anybody else, if you are here, it looks like there are 10 of you on right now. So pop comments in the chat. Let me know what you're doing with your running. As I said, this is just an opportunity for me to give back to runners. I want to help as much as I can in terms of like what I can provide. I don't want to like build a coaching business for this. I want to be able to just help people because I think it's so beneficial for everybody to be out and moving. And if running is your shtick and you're interested in it, I want to be able to answer questions for you. Ashley says, hi, I'm training for a half marathon in May and a full marathon in December. When should you start wearing a hydration vest for training? Are they even necessary? I see a lot of people using them. Great question. It will in part depend on the time of year. So right now where I'm at, it's really cold. And so I'm not sweating as much on my runs. Even on my long runs, like I'll have some water with me maybe, but I'm pretty hydrated before I get started. And I'm pretty okay. I just make sure on both ends I'm good. If I'm on a treadmill, I'll have some water next to me and I'll go through a little bit of that. But by no means do I need like a hydration vest for this time of year and the length of my long run. So right now I'm around 10 miles for a long run, getting back after this knee injury. So for you, for a half marathon, you're probably not going to need a hydration vest for any of your long runs. So if you are just building straight up to 13 miles, if you're not already doing like 15 or 16 mile long runs for your half marathon, I don't think you'll need a hydration vest for that at all. What you might use is a hand bottle. I wish I had one up here, but you can like slip in and then you've got a little bottle right here that you can run with. Solomon makes one that I like a whole bunch. It doesn't have like gels or anything in there. I usually just put some electrolytes or like a carbs fuel that has some carbs and electrolytes. I think those are really beneficial just to keep you moving. It's like having a goo, but in a bottle form. So it touches on both things. So as it warms up, you said in May for your half marathon, I would definitely have a hand bottle. You know, if you're out for 90 minutes plus for a longer run or even up to 2 hours for a long run, you're definitely going to want to have some sort of fluid. In the summer, I start going through a ton more fluid. I sweat a bunch in the summer, and I like having a hydration vest for that because it kind of removes any issues that I could have. I don't want to get into a position where I'm relatively far away from my car and I start overheating, or I'm overly dehydrated, because dehydration can decrease performance and increase energy demand, which we don't want. To the full marathon point, going into December, that means you're going to be having long runs in, September, October, November timeframe, where you're getting up pretty far in distance. If you get up and you're repeating 18-mile long runs week after week, that's going to take 2, 3, maybe 3.5 hours. Having a hydration vest there can be really beneficial because you've got usually 2 pockets right here for hydration. You can put your phone in the back. There's usually a back pocket there. So what I do for my long runs when I'm going up towards those bigger long run numbers, I've got a hydration vest with just water. I've got the other bottle that's attached, usually with some sort of carbs fuel, and then I'll also bring my hand bottle with me. So to answer the question directly, when is it necessary? I think when you're going longer than 2 hours probably is where it starts to become beneficial. And are they necessary? No. You can probably have water drop stations or somewhere, but I do find them to be pretty convenient. I wear mine somewhat regularly for my long run. I don't really wear them for anything else. Carl, that's very kind. Can't believe you're giving us all this advice for free. I'm just doing what I can to try and give back. This is what I've studied for a long time, and it's what I enjoy talking about. So yeah. Joe, what's your favorite running shoe and why? My favorite running shoe, it's probably this one right here, the Salomon Aeroglide Gravel. It is the most versatile shoe I've had, so I can do easy runs in it. It's what I use for all of my long runs. There's no carbon plate or anything in it. It just does everything really well. It's got some extra grip here on the bottom, so a little more aggressive tread, and this is a couple 100 miles in, so you can see about how much tread there is left. I want to say this is around 200 or 250 miles. I think it's the most versatile shoe that I own in terms of it being fine going up pace. I've run on the road, I've run on the trails, I've even done some semi-technical trail running. So if I had to recommend one shoe for everybody, or like one shoe that somebody could use for everything they do, rather, I think that would be one of them for sure. My favorite fast shoe is this one up here. This is the Saucony Endorphin Pro 4. The Pro 5 is out now, but this is just a super stable shoe. Has a carbon plate, and that can be something where carbon plated shoes aren't always the most stable. For example, this one right here, not the most stable shoe in the world. It's really fun and really aggressive. Probably what I'll wear for that 15K I was talking about earlier, but this is what I wore for my half marathon PR. It's not like a limiter in any way. Just really does its job well. Has a nice feel to it. Nice rock, nice bounce. So probably my favorite fast running shoe, the Saucony Endorphin Pro for now. There are a bunch of really cool ones out, like the Asics Metaspeed Ray, which is an incredibly lightweight shoe that I'm really interested in. The Mizuno Hyper Warp Pure, also really lightweight. Would be super interested in how that feels. And then I actually just also reviewed the Skechers Aero Razor for $140. I am really shocked with how good it is. I am not used to a shoe being like that good at that price point. So I think it's competing with and potentially a little better in some ways than like an Evo SL or a Nova Blast from Asics or a New Balance Rebel V5. Could be really, really good to add to a rotation for any of your faster days. It's got a little lower heel to toe drop, so you get a little more activation with the calf and Achilles, which can be really good because that's a way to be more efficient. All really good things there. Ashley says, that's super helpful. I'll experiment with a hydration vest the more I get into full marathon training. I think that makes a ton of sense. For the half, I think you'll be totally cool with just the hand bottle. You can play with putting just water in it, or water electrolytes, or a sort of carb energy mix with some sodium, and then play with it. See what feels good. Some people like half of the recommended amount of the carbs, so it's still water-y, but you get a little bit of energy and a little bit of salt with it. So all really good on that front. Carl says, Saucony Endorphin Pro looks cool. Keen to watch the Skechers review video. Yes, recorded the Skechers video yesterday. I'm hopeful I can get that edited today or tomorrow. I'm also reviewing the New Balance 1080 V15 today, so we'll see how that goes, but hopeful to get a video out in the next day or two. Follow-up question, if I want to get faster for the half marathon, what should I work on? My goal is to run sub 90 for the half marathon. It'll depend on your background a little bit. If you are somebody who is really fast already and speed is not a limiter, like if you're able to clip 6-minute miles, you just don't have the engine to do that for a long enough duration, that's going to be different than somebody who is an absolute tank that can do ultra marathons but isn't quite able to run fast enough. I fall into this first camp. I'm building my aerobic energy, system rather. So I need to build the amount of time I'm able to run for, which takes time, usually running below threshold. So in a way where the aerobic energy system is just spooling up so that I can take this faster speed that I have and apply it over a longer period of time without burning out. If you can just clip off like 30 miles forever, but to go faster, it's really difficult. We probably need to get more efficient running at the faster speeds. So for somebody who's already fast, I would say a lot of easier miles. So accumulate as much volume as you can, keep strides in there occasionally. You're more like a tank. Perfect. I'll finish up this thought here and then I'll explain your side. You keep the speed. So you maintain some easy running and then you have some faster pace work so you don't lose that ability. You want to maintain and touch on that efficiency. For somebody who's more of a tank that's clipping off mile after mile after mile after mile, and you have a long history of aerobic development, getting time at and above threshold and strides are going to be incredibly important. So as I said at the beginning of the stream, our bodies like to be efficient. They don't like doing more work than they have to. With that said, if you start running faster, your body's going to try and find a way to make that easier on the body. So you can say, I can produce a whole bunch of energy, but I can't go faster. We need to increase our efficiency in terms of our speed so that running faster is easier. And we need to increase the energy system, the anaerobic energy system kind of, where you're able to clear the byproducts of moving faster. So lactate builds up, you have hydrogen ions that build up. There are other metabolic byproducts of fast running that inhibit or slow down your ability to keep running faster, which comes from fatigue. Fatigue is the byproduct of all of these metabolic byproducts. When you get too many of those byproducts, fatigue builds, and then your body says, no, I'm done. I'm not running fast anymore. So that's going to look like doing kilometer repeats or 800-meter repeats or mile repeats where we're going faster than our goal pace. So going into my half marathon, one of the things I was trying to do was actually still touch on this system. So I alternated every other week. I would do either 800-meter repeats or mile repeats. The 800-meter repeats were faster and they had standing rest between. So I was really trying to go fast. I'm actually trying to break 90 minutes as well. So we have similar times that we're looking at. I want to go, I was averaging low 6-minute mile pace, which would be a little faster than 4-minute Ks. And then my miles, and the 800s had standing rest. The miles that I was repeating, I was getting a mile at sub 7-minute mile pace, so a little faster than 4-minute Ks, or a little slower than 4-minute Ks, excuse me, with jogging rest between. So for the faster, the 800s, it's like we shoot up really high and then we stand and we bring our heart rate down, we clear all the byproducts because we have no real energy demand while we're standing around. We do, but low. On the mile repeats I was doing, for those 7-minute pace miles or just below, that has a high energy demand, but I was able to sustain it. Between those, I would have jogging rest. So I'm not standing still. I actually still have an energy demand. And that tells the body, hey, I need to be able to produce energy still because I'm moving, and I need to be able to clear these byproducts at the same time. So it touches on different ways of hitting that anaerobic energy system and increasing your threshold. Let me know if that makes sense. If you have any follow-up questions with that, more than happy to answer them. And then I didn't touch on it specifically, but I mentioned it. The strides are going to be really helpful. That's where you're going really short time, like 10 to 15 seconds at a pretty fast pace, like not sprinting, but you're turning over, you're trying to be fast. So if 4-minute mile pace is your fastest pace you could possibly go, maybe we look at doing like 5-minute mile pace for these strides that are relatively short with tons of rest in between. That's going to open your stride. That's going to increase efficiency on the other end of the spectrum. So if we're really good at running slower, more efficiently, we're trying to get more efficient here. If we touch over here, that should make this middle spot feel a little easier and should make it a little more efficient over time. Strides also make you better at storing elastic energy. So in the tendons, instead of it having to be a really muscular demand, we get better at storing energy in the tendons, which isn't a conscious thing. It just happens. So in this middle spot, we get more efficient storing energy as well. And then using that, so it's a little less demand on the muscles, on the energy demand that is going to have to be made up with oxygen. So for what that's worth, strides are also going to be very helpful. If you have any follow-up questions there, by all means, drop them in. We've got 12 people in here, it looks like. If any of you other folks have running related questions, let me know. I want to help out. I'll give you a second to type if you want to see. While I give folks time to type, as I said, Carl and I have the same goal here of running under 90 minutes for a half marathon. I have a related goal. Actually, my only real goal for the year is to run 2,000 miles, which is going to average out to just under 40 miles per week. And The reason that's my primary goal is because everything is going to be a product of that. The more I'm able to run, the more efficient I'm going to get, the better aerobic energy system I'm going to have, the more structural integrity I will have throughout the body, hopefully to avoid injury, to maintain my runs. If I do those things and I maintain speed with some strides once a week or once every other week, I think that's all going to build towards having a really fast half marathon. So control the controllables. For me, if running 2,000 miles is the goal, just every week try and clip off what we need. If you're hurt or injured, if something pops up, you drop below it, knowing you can make up miles later in the year. Carl says, I also want to get a super soft daily running shoe. Which ones would you recommend? For soft, there are a handful of options. The New Balance 1080, the one that I'm going to review today, is supposed to be super soft. I put it on at the running store and it felt very soft. Run Repeat also had it at a very soft. So they measure the durometer of the foam, which tells you how squishy it is. It is actually just as squishy as the last one, but it has better energy return. I think that'll make it really interesting. I will make sure to send you a review right away when that video is done. I'll give you a thought on the 1080. But New Balance 1080, Asics Nova Blast is a very soft one. What else? It's usually nice. At the running store, I have all the shoes laid out in front of me. Brooks doesn't have a ton of soft stuff. Saucony, the Saucony Endorphin Azura feels really good. Huge fan of it. I want to be able to run in it, but in the store when I tried it on, it felt very soft and very bouncy. It has the same foam as this guy up here, but no carbon plate, and it's $150 price point, which is fantastic. At the price point, I think it's really good. The Mega Blast from Asics felt pretty firm the first time I tried it on, but a couple of runs in, it feels like it has softened up quite a bit. So thumbs up on that if you want a soft, very protective kind of shoe. What else? If you want to find something on sale, the New Balance V14 was also really, really soft, very marshmallow-y. Would give that a thumbs up as well. And you can probably find it on sale. What else? What else is out there that's really soft? I'm sure there are things that I'm forgetting. I think the Solomon is relatively soft, but it's pretty bouncy as well. So I like that a lot. What else do we have? I'm just going through the shoe wall at the store. I think that gives you a couple of good ideas. New Balance 1080 V14 or 15, Asics Nova Blast, Solomon Aeroglide, Asics Mega Blast. I think those would all be solid options for you. Garrett says, no questions today, but good stream, my guy. I'm about to be on an outdoor run today, so I'm waiting for the sun to heat up some. Dude, that's fantastic. Outside is so much better. Did you end up getting the Coros watch setup? I'm super curious. If you did, it will give you the GPS tracking and it'll still be able to give you the intervals as you run. So would love to hear how that goes. Remind me, I think it's 8 minutes on, 2 minutes off now, and you've got a couple of rounds of that. If so, I think that goes to show so nicely how quickly you can progress if you give your body some grace and understand it takes a little bit of time, but it hasn't been that long. You set it up this morning. Yes. Okay. So I'm super curious how it ends up feeling having like some extra help on the wrist. Remind me how long you've been going. I need to have this written down somewhere, Garrett. I feel like it was close to the start of the year that you started getting into the run walking. So for it to just be 6 weeks in the middle of February now, I think that would be pretty dang incredible to go from not running much to having 8-minute spurts. Yep, it's 8 on to off since January 1. Yeah, dude, that's so good. 6 weeks, you're getting your feet, shins, calves all used to running again. You're getting so much aerobic development, and I think that's something we talked about with your treadmill running, starting too fast, bringing that down to a point where your body could recover instead of like staying in this like, I don't know what's happening phase. So good. And that faster pace is going to come back soon. I also feel like running outside just makes you go faster. When I'm running on the treadmill, it always feels slower and harder. For whatever reason, I don't even mind running on the treadmill, but it feels like heart rate's always higher than it should be. Same thing for my wife. Running on the treadmill, she's like, I can't go faster than 12-minute pace without my heart rate jacking up super high. And then yesterday she was running under 10. She was running like 9:45 pace, and her heart rate was super in check the whole time. What a win. So I think it's just going from inside to outside. I think you usually see the body like just responding more nicely to that. So yeah, Garrett, 8-2 is freaking incredible in 6 weeks. I'm stoked to hear how the run goes today. Don't overdo it. Don't go out too crazy fast on your first run. But yeah, you're going to be doing continuous runs before you know it, with really short walk breaks, if any. For anybody who doesn't know, Garrett has a half coming up in May that I'm going to Indiana, for the Indy Mini, and we're going to run it. I think that'll be a really cool thing to see, going from January 1, not running a ton, to being able to continuously run a half marathon. That's going to be so cool, so rewarding to see how much you can change your body in 6 months. And I think for everybody, if we just zoom out and say 6 months isn't a very long time, if I could go from not being as fit as I want to be to running a half marathon continuously, I think everybody would be stoked with that. So give yourself the opportunity. Get started. It's not easy to get started, and it's easy to want to overdo it, but keep yourself in check. Just a little faster, a little bit of time, a little bit of time, a little bit of time, and eventually it adds up to where you're running 8 minutes on with only 2 minutes rest. And that's fantastic. And then you start running full miles that are continuous. And then you start stringing those together, and your long runs start getting longer, and you see progress, and you start to lose a little bit of weight, and that makes things easier. And then you get more efficient while you're running, and that makes things easier. And it's just this huge upward spiral that's so encouraging. I want everybody to have that feeling. So if anybody random, there are 70 of you still in here concurrently watching, give yourself the opportunity. If you don't know where to start, I've got a million videos on my channel that go through like how to walk jog, or you can go to Coros.com. They have free training plans. Take a look at those. So many good options. So for what that's worth, go do some cool stuff. You'll love it. Does anybody else have questions? I'm happy to answer anything else here in the chat. And if not, no worries. I can, by all means, have more opportunities to ask. So I'll keep doing these lives at 9 o'clock EST on Saturdays. That'll be a good opportunity for you to ask questions on an ongoing basis. So like, I help Garrett with these conversations every week. If any random things pop up, he can ask in the chat and I help out. Same thing for Carl or Ashley or James, anybody who pops in. You know, this is what it's here for. I'll give it a couple of more minutes. Well, like a minute. If anything pops up, more than happy to answer it. If not, I'll give it until 9:47, and then I'll pop off if I don't have anything that comes up between now and then. If nothing pops up, I hope everybody has a great run today. Garrett, let me know how your run goes. Ashley, let me know how your run goes. Carl, if you've got a run today, let me know how it goes. I love hearing all of the fun things. I'll be sure to let you guys know how the New Balance 1080 feels in a review ASAP. Thanks, Joe. Be back next week. Carl, fantastic. Love to see it. All right, that's 9:47, so I will wrap it up for the day. Thank you, everybody who dropped in. Thanks for your questions. Hopefully, they can help you and other people out there. I always want to apply it to as many folks as I can. So, thank you. Enjoy the day. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. And I'll look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. I've got a video coming out Wednesday, so make sure you stay tuned for that one. See you guys.